Good morning students. In the first unit we are having second lesson, that is bio-inorganic chemistry. So bio-inorganic chemistry. Bio-inorganic chemistry means bio means what? Living organisms. Inorganic means some metals. Okay. So in chemistry the metals, how it is going to interact with living organisms like animals, plants and also human beings. So by this we can say bio-inorganic chemistry is nothing but what here? The branch of chemistry which deals with the branch of chemistry which deals with the study of materials and the chemical changes in the living organisms in all their different phases of activity. This is about bio-inorganic chemistry. What is nothing but bio-inorganic chemistry? This is the branch of chemistry which deals with the study of materials. Materials is nothing but what here? Some biochemical changes involved in its growth, reproduction, living matter, and it process like digestion, excretion, reactions. These all leading to what here? For all growth, and how it is changing in a chemical form to the living organisms in a different phases of activity. We call it as bio-inorganic chemistry. So generally living beings have two types of constituents, that is living beings have two types of constituents. So in these two types of constituent is nothing but here one is organic component, another one is inorganic component. Organic components means what here? Mainly it containing carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen. So means what here? Proteins and carbohydrates. Coming to here inorganic components. So it is containing at least 29 elements in our body. Living system consists of what here? Organic component, inorganic component. Organic means we are getting carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. Whatever element with carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, it consists of organic compound. Inorganic consists of 29 elements in our body. So again it is divided into two types, that is essential elements non-essential elements 10. So it is inorganic chemistry containing how many elements? 29 elements in our body. In that essential elements is 19, non-essential elements is 10. So what are these 10 elements? Let us see: bromine, boron, silicon, astatine, nickel, aluminium, lead, tin, vanadium and titanium. So these are the 10 essential elements of the non-essential elements. So what is essential elements? Essential elements is nothing but what means here, which will take in our body. Take in our body for growth. Okay, which will synthesize, we can say which will synthesize in our body for growth, we call it as essential elements. So without these elements, we can't survive. Sometimes we may lead to death also. Coming to non-essential elements, it will not synthesize in our body. Even though if we not take these elements also, our body can survive. So those type of things we call it as non-essential elements. Again, these essential elements are divided into two types, that is macro elements or trace elements. We can say oligo elements also, this one. And coming to this one, micro elements or bulk elements. Bulk means which will be taken in very large. Macro actually we will be saying as, sorry, this is a macro and this is micro. Okay, so this one we will be taking as very large quantities. That one we call it as macro elements or bulk elements. Micro is nothing but here trace elements. Trace elements with very small quantity we are taking. So means what, here large quantity we are going to take. And coming to here very small quantity we are going to take. So generally it is having total elements, I have told you 19 elements overall. So in this total element consists of macro, in this 7 elements consist of micro. So what are the elements? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, sulfur, nitrogen, phosphorus, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, ferrous, chlorine. So these are the magnesium. So these are the 12 elements which are synthesized in our body, which will be taken in large quantities. Coming to here, we will be having copper, zinc, cobalt, manganese, iodine, fluorine and molybdenum. So these are the small elements which will take in very minute quantity. So this is about the classification. So generally living beings having two types of conscient. One is organic component, another one is inorganic component. Organic components means proteins, carbohydrates, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. Inorganic means containing 29 elements in our body. Again, these are divided into two types, that is essential elements and non-essential elements. Essential elements which we can synthesize in our body for our growth to live. So that one consisting 19 elements, and non-essential which we cannot synthesize in them. Even though if these elements are not present in our body, we can survive. So means what? It containing 10 elements. So again, these essential elements are divided into how many types? Two types, that is macro elements or bulk elements. Micro elements are trace elements, which will be taken in small quantity, we call it as trace elements. Which will be taken in large quantity, we call it as macro elements. So it consists of 12 elements, it consists of 7 elements. So this is about the classification of the bioinorganic chemistry, means living beings, how it is constituting the body. So now let us see biological significance. First one, biological significance, or we can say biological importance or biological functions. Biological significance of sodium, potassium and chlorine. Okay. So what will happen in our body if these are more and if these are less? Let us see what happening. So for everything we have to know about the sources. So sources means what? What are the food items we have to take? For the sodium, potassium, chlorine, let us see. For sodium and chlorine, we will be getting common table salt. What is that? NaCl we will be using. So, but plant contains very low sodium, potassium almost found in almost all foods, both plants and animals. Sodium and chlorine, how we will be taking as common salt or table salt. NaCl will be taking, but plant contains very low sodium. Coming to potassium, it requires for human beings also, animals also, and also food also. And coming to here, it is mainly sources of K is nothing but here for potassium we will be taking coffee, tea, cocoa, dried beans, green leafy vegetables, milk, fish, chicken, etc. So these are the sources are required for the potassium. If anything is less in our body, if out of these three, if any element is less in our body, so we may causes to death. So now let us see absorption. So how it is working in our body, how sodium, chlorine, potassium are working in our body. So let us take sodium, potassium and chlorine are mainly absorbed in gastrointestinal tract. So what happens? Sodium, potassium and chlorine mainly absorbed in gastrointestinal tract. So gastrointestinal tract is nothing but here wherever the tract from mouth to the anus, means it mainly produce in our organs of the digestive system. So the tract which will produce means there will be some cube like, so there will be like pipe in our, if you have observed clearly the digestive system structure, so what happens, the tube means from mouth to our anus, so what happens, the tract will, this is about gastrointestinal tract, so which contains all organs of the digestive system. From mouth to gastrointestinal tract means what, the tract from mouth to anus, which is having all organs of the digestive system, we call it as gastrointestinal tract. So this is the first point, where it is observing the sodium, potassium, chlorine mainly observed in gastrointestinal tract, and sodium and potassium are distributed in plants as well as animals as the salts. Means this sodium and potassium will produce as salts for plants and animals, for chlorides, phosphates and carbonates of inorganic and organic salts. Okay, so means what? In inorganic and organic cell, this sodium and potassium are distributed in plants as well as also animals. Means, for example, if you are taking chlorine, NaCl, sodium chloride. Suppose if you are taking CO3, means sodium carbonate. In the same way, potassium phosphate, potassium chloride, potassium carbonate. So like this, it is forming as salts in the animals and also plants. And here, sodium is the main extracellular cation. Extracellular cation. And coming to potassium, main intracellular cation. So extra means what? Intra means what? Outside this cell, the sodium is present. Inside this cell, potassium is present. Okay. So means what here? Whenever the cells and the nerves are traveling in our body, so automatically what happens? Outside this cell, we are having the sodium, and inside this cell, we are having potassium. So mainly the highest concentration of chloride is found in CSF. So here this is about the absorption. So these are the sources and this is about absorption. So what is the absorption here? Sodium, potassium, chlorine mainly absorbed in a gastrointestinal tract which contains all organs of the digestive system. Mainly these are found in digestive system. So means what here? From mouth to anus. And sodium and potassium are exhibited as salts in organic and organic. Inorganic. Sodium is the extracellular outside this cell and potassium is the intracellular that is inside this cell. So the highest concentration of chloride where we have found? CSF. So what are the functions? So functions of the sodium potassium. So what are the functions we are observing? So potassium. First one we will be seeing maintenance of the normal hydration and osmotic pressure. The first function is what here? Maintenance of normal hydration and osmotic pressure. So here osmotic pressure is nothing but what here? The pressure which is required. The more pressure which is required to stop osmosis, we call it as osmotic pressure. So if we have seen in our previous classes, like our intermediate classes, if you have observed what is osmosis? The flow of the solvent through semi-permeable membrane, we call it as osmosis, and which will the extra pressure is required to stop osmosis process, we call it as osmotic pressure. So here first we have what we have to do, we have to maintain the normal hydration and also osmotic pressure. So for this, these ions means what here? The primary function of these ions what here? To maintain the normal osmotic pressure of the body fluids throughout the body. Means they will protect the body against excessive loss of fluids. Means what here? Whenever we are losing some fluids from our body, for example through sweat we can lose and also through urine we can lose. So whatever maybe we'll be losing more fluids in our body. So to control that fluids, so we have to maintain normal osmotic pressure of our body fluids throughout our body. So what happens? These ions to maintain the normal osmotic pressure of body fluids, . throughout body to protect the body against excessive loss of fluid. Okay, so this is about first function. Next one, maintenance of normal acid base equilibrium. What is next function? Maintenance of normal acid base equilibrium. So here potassium and sodium salts will be weak acids from the buffer system. Means from our extracellular and intracellular fluids, what happens? They will maintain buffer. Buffer means what? Ammonium chloride and ammonium hydroxide solution. So here it will play very important, means to maintain the pH value in our body only. So we will be taking sodium and potassium. Coming to here, sodium and potassium salts with weak acids. Acetic acid, if we have taken CH3COOH, it is a weak acid example. So form the what here? Form the buffer system of extracellular and intracellular fluids. Means what here? The sodium and potassium salts with acetic acid is a weak acid. So they will form the buffer system. Means extracellular, intercellular. Extra means what? Outside the cell the sodium is producing. Inside this cell the potassium is producing. Means what? They will maintain pH value. So it is getting NaHCO3 plus H2CO3. So this is to maintain the pH value, the buffer solution we call it as buffer. Means what? The pH value is maintained outside the extracellular and intercellular fluids. And coming to third function. So this is about normal acid base equilibrium. Next, transport of CO2. Transport of CO2. What is the next function here? Mainly Cl. So in gaseous transport, for example, in our gastrointestinal tract, what happens means the CO2 is released. So due to the presence of this Cl, mainly Cl ion plays a major role in the gaseous transport of CO2. Cl minus ion play major role in the gaseous transport of CO2. So next one, neuromuscular irritability. So what is next function here? Neuromuscular irritability. So neuromuscular is nothing but what? The nerves which will act under the muscles. Okay. So means what here? Both sodium and potassium will maintain the normal neuromuscular irritability and also excitability. So by this function what will be? We will be immediately exciting ourselves. So sometimes will be exciting. So those type of things will come under the neuromuscular irritability. So this is having some formula also. Irritability is directly proportional to sodium and potassium, and it is inversely proportional to calcium, magnesium and hydrogen. So this is about neuromuscular irritability. So next one we will be having, next function is maintenance of proper viscosity of blood. Maintenance of proper viscosity of blood. So means what here? What will happen? Viscosity is nothing but here some poisonous nature. So here to maintain that one, so in the blood plasma means what means here, which will be a clear straw color liquid portion of our blood. Okay, so the clear liquid, and also it will be like straw colored. Okay, so here what happens, it will be remains after red blood cell, white blood cells. So there will be placed in our body. Okay, in the red blood cells and white blood cells the plasma is present. So the plasma is like straw colored, and also it will be a clear liquid also. It will be like liquid portion. So what happens in blood plasma, the sodium and potassium chlorides. So what happens, it will decrease the hydration of the plasma proteins, so to maintain that viscosity of blood. So what happens here, in blood plasma, sodium and potassium chlorides regulates, means what, it allows the hydration of plasma proteins. In blood plasma what happens, in our body the sodium and potassium chloride regulates hydration of plasma proteins to maintain viscosity of the blood. So this is about viscosity, of proper viscosity of the blood. Coming to next one, in secretion of digestive fluids. In secretion of digestive fluids. So means what, in gastric HCl is derived from NaCl of our blood. From NaCl only the gastric HCl is produced, and here alkaline digestive juices such as pancreatic juice and also bile juice derived from the blood, sodium and also potassium salts. So what happens to the digestive fluids, means what, mainly the gastric here, the gastric HCl is derived mainly from NaCl of blood. Okay, alkaline digestive juices like pancreatic juice and bile juice derived from blood, sodium and potassium salts. So what is pancreatic juice and bile juice? Generally pancreatic juice, it is an alkaline and also it is having highest digestive power for the pancreatic juice. Coming to bile juice, it is a bitter taste and it will changes in our digestive system, in our liver part mainly we can say, which will be produced in our liver, this bile juice. So in liver what happens means, it will change into green to yellowish brown fluid like it will be having. So it will be mainly, it is a steroid like gallbladder. So means what here, these two will produce to digest the fats, carbohydrates and proteins. We'll be taking fat items, sugar items like carbohydrates, and also proteins will be taken. So to digest that only we'll be taking we'll be having these two, that is pancreatic juice and bile juice. This pancreatic juice and bile juice mainly digest in our fluids. So this is about the secretion of digestive fluids. So and next one we will be having the last, that is in the storage and glycogen. So potassium is highly required for our cell growth and also for repair. So to grow our cells and for our repair of the cells, potassium is required. So generally 1 gram of cell protein requires 0.45 equivalent of potassium, and also storage of 1 gram of glycogen requires 0.15 potassium in the intercellular fluid, so to our body. So for our sugar patients, when insulin is injected to diabetic patients, what happens? It will form glycogenesis. At that time potassium is not supplemented. Why? Because it causes hypokalemia. Okay, hypokalemia means high potassium it is. So generally to storage, in the storage and glycogen, what happens? Potassium is required. Potassium is highly required for cell growth and cell repair. Okay, so generally how much we required? 1 gram of cell protein requires 0.45 milli equivalent of potassium, and also here storage coming. This is storage. For storage how much we require? For storage of 1 gram of glycogen requires 0.15 milli equivalent potassium in intracellular fluid. Okay, so for this, when insulin is injected to our body, so when insulin is injected to our body, so what happens? Automatically it accelerates glycogenesis. At the time potassium is not required. Why? Because it forms a hypokalemia. So now let us see what about hyper and hypokalemia. Hypo levels of potassium, sodium, chlorine. So here if you are having very less sodium, which means if you, that one we call it as hyponatremia, which is having less sodium, leads to appetite. Means what here? It decide to eat food. Appetite means what here? Lead to appetite. For example, if you are getting hungry, so what happens? We want to take food, so that function will act as appetite. Okay, so means what? Appetite will make us to make hungry to eat food, means it decide to eat food for growth. It retards what